everyone, I welcome you all to today's session. So today's unit of discussion is unit 17, that is customer service guidelines. So we are going to complete this chapter in this video. Customer service guidelines. So let's start with the customer service guideline. First of all, what are the organizational framework? So RBI has emphasized the matter related to customer services. This should be solved by a specific board to need to review the customer service aspects, and a detailed memorandum should be submitted to the board of director once in every 6 months. So you are all very much aware that banks are nowadays in dealing in a very competitive environment, and for profit and for the sustainability in this high competitive market, bank need to ensure that their customer service is top notch, and therefore RBI emphasized that every bank should deal this customer service thing or framework with a special and dedicated board, and there should be a detailed memorandum which should be submitted on a detailed customer services thing, and once in every 6 months this is submitted to the board of director. Now, prescribed institutional setup for banks. Now, what are the prescribed institutional setup for bank for the customer services? First of all, there should be a customer service committee of the board. Second, there should be standing committee on customer service. Third, there should be a branch level customer service committees. And fourth, there should be a nodal department and official for customer services. Okay, now next, if we talk about the board approved policies on customer services. Now, what are the board approved policies on the customer services? First of all, there should be a comprehensive deposit policy. It means that banks should have a transparent and comprehensive policies setting out the right of the depositor in general and small deposits in particular. So what is the term and condition? What is the right of the customer? How should a customer aware themselves with the deposit policy? All the banks should have a very transparent policies that should be clearly communicated to the customer, that what are their rights for these deposits. Second, there should be a very clear and cut check collection policies. Also, there should be a comprehensive and transparent policy on the check collecting services that follows three important steps. First of all, there should be immediate credit for local and outstation check. Second, the time frame for the collection of the check, that is the local or outstation. Third, you should pay interest. Bank should pay interest for if there is any delay in the collection of the check. So these are the check collection policy. Next, customer compensation policy. Now, bank must have a customer compensation policy that could be based on the model policy of Indian Banking Association. It should cover the following aspect. First of all, the payment of interest for the delay in collection. So, banks should have to pay interest if there is delay in the collection of the check. Second, bank should have to pay interest for the delay in issuing of duplicate draft. Third, there should be other unauthorized action of the bank leading to the financial loss to the customer. If there is any unauthorized access or unauthorized action of the bank that actually lead to the financial loss to the customer, bank should compensate to that customer. So these are the customer compensation policy that bank need to have. Lastly, there should be a customer grievance redressal policy. So these are the board approved policy. First, the comprehensive deposit policy, which ensured that there should be a transparent deposit policy that actually provides the detailing of the deposits to the customer. Second, check collection policy should be there, and if there is any delay in the collection of the check, bank should be crediting interest to the customer. Third, there should be a customer compensation policy also, and the customer grievance redressal policies also. Okay, now next, if we talk about the ATM operations, you must know that ATM operations, a bank provide free ATM services, as well as there are certain transactions with the ATM up to the certain numbers which is free, that is provided by the bank. So free transactions at the ATM, customers are eligible for 5 free transaction, financial and non-financial, every month from their own bank ATM. If I have HDFC and I'm using HDFC ATM, I have 5 free financial and non-financial transaction. Okay, now I'm also eligible for free transaction, financial and non-financial for others bank ATM also, like 3 in metro and 5 in non-metro centers. Okay, now transaction in the ATM, PIN validation is necessary for every successful transaction. Lodging of ATM related complaints. Now, if you have complaint related to ATM, for example, your amount has been credited from debited from the bank, but you haven't received the money, or the ATM is not working, or there is always insufficient balance in the ATM. So how to lodge the complaint against that ATM? So first of all, the ATM should display, the ATM kiosk should display these things: telephone number of the help desk or the contact person of the ATM owing bank. Second, uniform template that is prescribing how to complain to the banking ombudsman regarding any complaint to the ATM transaction. So ATM kiosk should be displaying this. Okay, so there are free ATM transaction that has been provided to the customer. Second, PIN validation is compulsory for every successful transaction. Third, lodging of ATM related complaints. If you want to lodge complaints, there should be a proper template or display in the ATM kiosk that how to lodge the complaints to the ATM related complaints to the RBI or ombudsman. Okay, next, if we talk to how to enhance the experience or efficiency in the ATM operation. So, following are the steps which can be taken for enhancing the customer experience and efficiency of the ATM. First of all, a message of non-availability of the cash to be displayed. If there is no cash in the ATM, so that ATM should initially display that I have no cash. This message at the screen, so that the customer is aware and customer cannot have a failed attempt on the ATM. Second, the ATM should display ATM ID in the ATM premises. Complaint forms with numbers and phone numbers of the official should be available at the ATM. Sufficient toll-free number for lodging complaint should be there. Mobile numbers and email ID of the customers registered to send some alerts to inform customer about the failed ATM transaction. So these are all the facilities that actually enhance the customer experience in the ATM. So if the ATM already is displaying that I have no cash, so I will not make an attempt to take out the cash. It actually enhance my experience. The ATM should display the phone numbers and details or to whom which we can complain to any matter related to ATM. So these are all the services that has been taken by the bank, steps that has been taken by the bank to enhance the customer experience in the ATM. A scheme for penalty for non-replenishment of the ATM. So if there is cash out or non-availability of the cash in any ATM for more than 10 hours in a month, it attract a penalty of rupees 10,000 per ATM. 10 hours for a continuous 10 hours in a month, then 10,000 rupees penalty is charged in that ATM. Dispute regarding ATM. So there shall be a settling dispute by issuing bank and acquiring bank through the ATM system provider only. Okay, so these are the ATM operation. Next, if we talk about the securities and issues and risk mitigating measures. So what are the securities issues that can arise, and what are the measures that have been taken by the bank in order to ensure the impact of that risk should be less? First of all, online alert of the usage of debit and credit cards should be given. Card not present transactions should be there. Means whatever the detail which is not apparent in the card, this detail should be asked for validating the transaction. For example, an OTP is given to your registered number. This is not present in your ATM or credit card, and so this is very compulsory step that need to be taken for completing any transaction. Third, electronic payment transaction should be safely executed. There should be limited liability of the customer if there is any unauthorized electronic banking transaction, and the customer is entitled to zero liability in the case if there is any fraud or negligence on part of the bank. Second, if there is any third party breach and there is no deficiency with the customer or the bank but anywhere else in the system. So first of all, the customer should have a limited liability in case of fraud, but in some cases the customer must have zero liability, like if there is any deficiency of the services that is done on the behalf of the bank, the customer should have no liability in that fraud. Or if there is any fraud that can happen from the third party and there is no deficiency of the services with the customer as well as the bank, so the customer should have a zero liability. Okay, any loss that occurring after reporting shall be borne by the bank. In case where the responsibility is not with the bank or the customer but any elsewhere in the system, and when there is a delay for 4 to 7 working days in notifying the bank, the per transaction liability of the customer shall be limited to the transaction value or the amount mentioned, which is whichever is below. Now, if there is any loss that occurs even after reporting the transaction, for example, I have reported anything to the bank that I have lost my debit card. Now, after this reporting, there is any fraud or loss that occurs from that. Now, in this case, the responsibility is not with the bank or the customer, but anywhere else in the system, and there is a delay of 4 to 7 working days after receiving the bank communication. So now the customer's liability is limited to only the amount of the transaction value or amount which is mentioned below, whichever is lower. Which mention? This mention. Now, if the customer is having BSBD account, the maximum limit is 5,000. So, if there is any fraud, even after reporting the transaction, so if there is any loss, even after reporting the transaction, the loss of the transaction, either the value which is equivalent to that fraud, for example, the loss is of rupees 10,000, but you hold a BSBT account, okay, basic saving bank deposit account. Now your maximum liability is only 5,000. So it says that what is the maximum liability and what is the amount of the loss that actually occurs. So whichever is lower, this is your liability. This you have to submit the bank. For example, if you have other saving accounts, prepaid instrument or credit card, the limit is 10,000. So whatever the amount of the loss is, or this amount, whichever is lower, is the liability of the customer. Now, in case of credit card, in which the limit is over and above 5 lakh, the maximum liability is 25,000. Now, for example, I have lost my credit card. Okay. Now I have reported the transaction. My credit card limit is 4 lakh. Now the fraud happens. Now financial loss, anyone actually misuses my credit card and the amount, the financial loss is of rupees 3 lakh. Now, my limit is 25,000. The liability that is charged for me is 25,000. So, the amount of the transaction is 3 lakh, but the maximum liability, because I have a credit card with limit over 2.5 lakh. So, the maximum liability is 25,000. So, whichever is lower. So, 25,000 is lower. So, I am charged with only 25,000 rupees. I have to submit 25,000 rupees to the bank. Now, if, for example, my credit card is limit is 3 lakh, now the other person misuses my credit card, and now the misuse amount is only rupees 10,000. Now 10,000 is the amount. The maximum that can be my liability is 25,000. Whichever is lower, 10,000 is lower. So I am only liable to pay 10,000 to the bank. Okay, so this is the amount, maximum amount of the liabilities that can be charged from the customer of BSBT of credit card with limit up to 5 lakh and above 5 lakh. Okay, done. Next, if we talk about the service at the counter. Now, what are the services at the counter? First of all, Staff should arrive 15 minutes early. This you all know that staff must arrive 15 minutes early. Branch should be open for at least 4 hours on weekdays and Saturdays. Varying bank hours and flexible rural branches should be there. Local laws and staff obligations comply with that is necessary. Attend all the customer on the closing time. There should be an extension of the business hour for non-cash transaction. So these are all the services that can be served by the banker at the counter to enhance the customer experiences. Okay. Lastly, if we talk about the information to the customer, now whatever information that is necessary to be disclosed to the customer should be available in the notice board. First of all, the notice board should be there in the bank, which is updated bilingual, and there should be marked changes in that notice board. Booklet and brochures should be there. Website display should be there. Other type of display like touch screen and tag board should be there. Interest rate and service charges of the bank, it should be given in a prescribed format. There should be information in the public domains, like you can complain account, loans, etc. Timeline for the credit decision and service charges is to be displayed in the local languages. So these are all the information that should be available to the customer. It should be available in the notice board, display board, other type of boards, public domain. Interest rate and service charge is to be given in a prescribed format. Clear? Okay, next, if we talk about special arrangements at the branches, so there are some special arrangements that can be given at the branches to enhance the customer experience. Like there should be ramps. Ramps means this. So if there is an elderly person who is working on a wheelchair, so wheelchair can move from there to there easily. Okay, there should be ramps, there should be stairs. From stairs there should be a ramp also that is present in the ATM or branches. Facilities for the sick or old, visually impaired banking facilities should be there. Talking ATMs and braille keypads should be there for blind persons, and procedures for account for persons with disabilities. So these are all the special arrangements that are to be provided at the branch for enhancing the customer experiences. Clear? Now lastly, if we talk about the other provisions, so the other provisions, like you should include third gender in the form also. There should be an acknowledgement of 15G or 15H form. TDS certificate, issuance of the TDS certificate should be there. Acceptance of cash without any restriction. Cooperate with the tax officials. Cleaning overdraft scheme should be there. So these are the other provisions which can be given to the customer for enhancing the customer experiences. Okay, so these are all for the customer experiences, customer services guideline. So we have discussed the complete customer services guidelines. What should be the other provisions? What should be the special arrangement? How this can be served? This is all completed in this chapter. I hope that you have all understood this chapter, and I hope that you have all enjoyed this chapter. Just please keep on giving feedbacks and rating to the session. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye bye, guys. Then meet you in the next class. Bye, everyone. Take care.